Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I want to talk about my first thoughts on the newly revealed Tudor Ranger. This is the reference M79950, and it brings back a field watch model that was not all that long ago discontinued by Tudor. The Ranger's history actually spans decades, but just focusing on the most recent version that had been discontinued, it was a 2014 release. That iteration of this field watch was a 41mm case, and it ran on an ETA movement, and it was pulled in 2020. So now here in 2022, the watch is back, and let's run over the specifications really quickly. So the case is smaller than the last version. It's down now to 39mm. The ETA movement is out, and now Tudor is using an in-house movement, the MT5402, which is an automatic movement with a power reserve of approximately 70 hours. The watch does feature a screw-down crown and offers 100 meters of water resistance. The watch has a sapphire crystal and features a black dial with Arabic numerals at the 3, 6, 9, and 12 o'clock hour positions. The case and the bezel are satin brushed stainless steel. The watch does have 3 sub-reference numbers related to the sort of strap that is used. The watch is available with a green fabric strap in the NATO style. It can also be acquired with a hybrid of rubber and leather as the strap. And both the leather rubber version and the cloth version are for sale at $2,725, or if you want to go up to $3,050, you can get a stainless steel bracelet. So what are my first thoughts on this watch? Overall, I think this is actually going to be a pretty successful release. Yes, we're not talking about a Black Bay and talking about Tudor actually having a successful watch, but the aesthetic of this has a lot of appeal. I think it was a smart move to go down to 39mm. Field watches historically run quite a bit smaller. In fact, if you start looking at companies like Marathon and go into the more historic field watches, 34mm is actually pretty standard. So to take this size down, I feel is more in the field watch aesthetic. Obviously, going 39mm means that you're still going to be broadly appealing to those with larger wrist sizes who get really uncomfortable when you get down below like 37mm, for example. So I think they've chosen a sweet spot. I think the pricing's pretty competitive on this watch. It is a luxury watch brand. It is using an in-house movement, but with an in-house movement offering a beefy 70 hours of power reserve, and it happens to be COSC certified, so it is highly accurate. There's a lot of bang for the buck here, and it's something we've kind of been familiar with Tudor doing in recent years, though some of their releases lately have seemed to be trying to straddle that higher dollar point. But this, while not what I would define as entry level, I mean, it is running about $1,000 more than their 1926 models. Going in-house and doing all of this for only $1,000 more than that is pretty impressive. I like the aesthetic look of the watch. I really like satin brushed stainless steel, so I think it suits the sort of field watch rugged aesthetic. Obviously, it's not going to show scratches as much as polished would, so again, it sort of speaks, in my mind, to that. Let's get out and do something with this watch. The dial is super legible. I do like how the second hand has a red tip on it, and thus it is very easy to distinguish where it is in relation to that black dial. But overall, like you would expect with a field watch, this seems very easy to read. It's extremely clean. And overall, I think this is going to go over very well with fans of the historic Tudor Ranger line and fans of field watches in general. And something, while I did mention it in the specs, that really impressed me is the 100 meters of water resistance. And yes, in the world of watches, getting 100 meters of water resistance isn't all that special. But when you look at field watches, or at least when I was last shopping for field watches, finding them at 100 meters, that actually wasn't very common. Most of the mil specs, actually all of the mil specs that I can think of, didn't mandate 100 meters, so a lot of those true field watches didn't go up to 100 meters of water resistance. And depending on which company you turn to at this point, some have decided to push harder than others, but it's very common for field watches to not feature screw-down crowns, and you can get 100 meters of water resistance without a screw-down crown. Hamilton does it all the time, but again, just one of those little changes that I think versus the typical field watch that people are going to look at when they see this new Tudor Ranger and go, I'm more comfortable wearing this, especially out and about, because if I get it wet, if I get splashed, if I fall in water, it's not going to be a big deal. So I actually think that aspect, perhaps more than anything else, is a real big highlight. I mean, the movement being in-house, so that'll appeal to some people. The power reserve, though, is very compelling compared to, I didn't pull what their old ETAs were, but if it's like any other ETAs I've seen, this power reserve is probably near on double what the typical amount is, which is usually in the range of 38 to 42 hours. But anyway, those are my first thoughts about this reveal. I'd love to know yours. If you would feel free to place a comment in the comment section, I'd be more than happy to read them and learn more about what everyone else's thoughts are about this watch reveal. And other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. It helps the channel out. And I will talk to everyone on the next one. Take care.